What if Daenerys Targaryen never went mad? What if everything she did was exactly what someone else needed her to do? We spend years watching this woman survive the impossible. She walks into fire. She crosses deserts. She frees thousands of slaves. She builds an army from nothing. And then, in the space of a single episode, she becomes the villain. The show tells us she snapped. That power corrupted her. That the madness was always in her blood. But here's the thing. When you go back and look at every major decision Daenerys made in the final season, almost none of them make sense on their own. They only make sense if someone was pulling the strings behind her. Someone who knew exactly what she would do. Someone who needed her to burn King's Landing so that he could take the throne. And today, I want to show you 5 moments that prove Daenerys wasn't a mad queen. She was a weapon, aimed, loaded, and fired by people who had everything to gain from her destruction. Before we begin, I want to set something up. Throughout this video, I'm going to use one phrase over and over again. Who benefits? In any crime, real or fictional, the first question investigators ask is not what happened. It's who benefits from what happened. When King's Landing burns, who benefits? When Daenerys is killed, who benefits? When Jon Snow is exiled to the north, who benefits? Keep that question in your head, because by the time we reach number 1 on this list, the answer is going to change how you see this entire story. Let's start with the moment everyone points to as the proof of Daenerys' madness. The bells. King's Landing has surrendered. The bells are ringing. The city is on its knees. And then, Daenerys burns it anyway. The fandom exploded. Critics called it a betrayal of her character. And on the surface, it looks insane. But let's slow this down. Because in the weeks leading up to that moment, Daenerys lost almost everything. She lost Yura, her protector, her oldest friend, at the Battle of Winterfell. She lost her most trusted companion, executed in front of her eyes by Cersei Lannister. She lost one of her dragons, shot out of the sky with no warning, no chance to save him. And she had just discovered that the man she loved, Jon Snow, was actually her nephew, and the true heir to the throne she had spent her entire life fighting for. Now here's the question nobody asks. Why did all of these losses happen so quickly? Why were they concentrated into such a short period of time? Why did everything collapse around her at the exact same moment? Grief does not make people irrational on its own, but grief, combined with isolation, combined with betrayal, combined with the feeling that you are completely alone, that's a different thing entirely. Daenerys was systematically stripped of every support system she had, one by one, in rapid succession. And when she sat on that cliff overlooking King's Landing, she wasn't a queen who had gone mad. She was a woman who had been broken deliberately by forces that needed her to make one terrible decision. Who benefits from Daenerys burning King's Landing? Not Jon, not Sansa, not Arya. Think about it. Let's talk about Varys. Varys is one of the most intelligent characters in Game of Thrones. He has survived multiple kings, multiple regimes, multiple attempts on his life. He doesn't make mistakes. So why did he suddenly start writing letters exposing Jon Snow's true identity, right at the moment when Daenerys was most vulnerable? The official story is that Varys had a change of heart, that he decided Jon was the better ruler and that he was acting in the realm's best interest. But that explanation doesn't hold up. Varys had been loyal to the idea of the realm his entire life. He had served terrible kings because he believed in stability. He had done horrifying things in the name of the greater good. And yet, at the exact moment when Daenerys was grieving, isolated, and on the edge, Varys chose to betray her. Not earlier, not when she was strong and stable, but now, right now, when the information would do maximum psychological damage. There are 2 possibilities here. Either Varys made a sudden and completely out-of-character emotional decision, or someone fed him information designed to push him toward this betrayal at exactly the right moment. Someone who knew that Varys' exposure and execution would further isolate Daenerys. Someone who knew that watching her most experienced advisor die for betraying her would make her feel that trusting anyone was a death sentence. The timing is not a coincidence. The timing is a strategy. Who benefits from Varys turning on Daenerys at the worst possible moment? Tyrion Lannister is supposed to be the smartest man in the room. He tells us this constantly, and for most of the series, he earns it. His political mind is remarkable. His ability to read people is extraordinary. So how do we explain the fact that in Season 8, Tyrion gets everything wrong? He frees Jaime to negotiate with Cersei, a plan that fails completely. He advises Daenerys to hold back and trust the political process, advice that leaves her weaker and more isolated. He tells Jon Snow about Daenerys' state of mind, essentially confirming to Jon that she is becoming dangerous. Every single major piece of advice Tyrion gives in the final season makes Daenerys' situation worse. Now, you could argue that Tyrion was grieving, that his love for his brother clouded his judgment. But look at the pattern. Each mistake Tyrion makes removes another layer of protection from Daenerys. Each error increases her isolation. Each failure gives her enemies more ammunition. And at the end of it all, Tyrion is the one who tells Jon Snow that Daenerys has to die. He frames it as necessity, as the only way to save the realm. But here's what Tyrion doesn't mention. If Daenerys dies, Tyrion doesn't have to answer for his crimes. He doesn't have to face trial for his betrayal. He gets to be the hero who saw the threat coming. He gets to survive, who benefits from Daenerys being painted as a monster who had to be stopped. Tyrion, clearly. But Tyrion is not the architect of this story. He's too emotional, too reactive, too human. The architect is someone colder, someone who sees the board, someone who doesn't make decisions based on love or grief or survival instinct, someone who makes decisions based on knowing exactly how the game ends. This is the one that changes everything. Jon Snow knew what he was going to do before he did it. Not consciously, but on some level. In the way that honorable people always know what they have to do. Jon knew that if Daenerys became the monster the world feared, he would be the one to stop her. And the person who understood that better than anyone was the person who told him who he really was. Think about the sequence of events. Jon Snow learns his true identity. He tells Daenerys. Daenerys begs him to keep it secret. She knows that the information will destroy them. She knows that the moment that secret spreads, her claim, her allies, her sanity, all of it becomes a target. Jon promises to keep the secret, and then he tells Sansa. Sansa tells Tyrion. Tyrion tells Varys. Varys starts writing letters. And the chain of destruction that follows, the isolation, the betrayal, the executions, the bells, the ash, all of it flows directly from that one decision. Jon broke his promise, not out of malice, not out of strategy, but because he is constitutionally incapable of lying. Because his sense of honor made it impossible for him to sit on information that he believed people deserved to know. His greatest strength became the weapon used to destroy the woman he loved. And at the end of it all, Jon kills Daenerys. He holds her in his arms and drives a knife through her heart. And then he's exiled north of the wall, back to where he started, back to the place he always loved most. Some fans saw this as a tragedy. Jon Snow punished for doing the right thing. But is it really punishment if it's where he wanted to be? Jon Snow gets to leave. He gets to go beyond the wall with the free folk. He gets to live a life without thrones and politics and the crushing weight of being the heir to everything. He gets exactly what he always wanted. And Daenerys? Daenerys gets erased. Her story ends with a knife in her heart, held by the man she loved. Her body disappears, carried away by Drogon. No grave, no memorial, no acknowledgement of everything she sacrificed. The woman who ended slavery across an entire continent, who rebuilt her people from nothing, who gave everything she had to a war that wasn't even her war. She gets a footnote, a cautionary tale, a warning about what happens when women with power feel too much. And here's the question I keep coming back to. If Daenerys had not burned King's Landing, what would have happened? Cersei would still be on the throne. The war would have continued. More people would have died in a slower, less visible way. The world Daenerys wanted to build, a world without the wheel of power crushing the same people over and over, that world never got a chance. Because she was stopped before she could build it. And in her place, a broken system with a new face on the throne. Same wheel, different rider. Who benefits from that? So here's where we land. Daenerys Targaryen was not the Mad Queen. She was a woman who was isolated with surgical precision, who was surrounded by people whose mistakes, intentional or not, pushed her toward one catastrophic decision. She was given a prophecy she couldn't escape, surrounded by grief she couldn't process, betrayed by people she trusted. And when she finally broke, everyone who had pushed her to that breaking point got a point in the fire and say, "See, we told you." That is not madness. That is a setup. And now, with House of the Dragon expanding this universe, we have to ask a bigger question. Is this pattern older than we think? The Targaryens have always been surrounded by whispers about fire and blood and madness. The Maesters have recorded their history. The prophets have shaped their destiny. But what if the prophets are not just watching? What if someone has always been guiding these dragons toward a specific ending? In Season 3 of House of the Dragon, if the three-eyed raven appears, I think we'll start to get answers. Because the manipulation of Daenerys wasn't the first time this happened. It was just the most recent. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Daenerys was set up? Who do you think is the real architect? Tyrion, Varys, Bran, or someone else entirely? And if this kind of deep dive content is what you're here for, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, because the next video goes even deeper. And the game is far from over.